We are going to lose this if we run the same way that we ran last time.
Michael Moore joined MSNBC after the second debate to give his analysis on what Democrats need to do to win. Now, I like hearing what Michael Moore has to say, even though I don't always agree with him. But Michael Moore was one of the few, if only, people that were allowed on television that were actually warning that Trump could win the election. But here, he gives a mixture of good advice and bad advice. And it's kind of confusing because his good advice is solid. But then he doesn't really apply his own advice to his, quasi recommendations for who should be the nominee, but we'll get to that. First, let me show the beginning of this clip where Michael Moore talks about what Democrats need to do.
Actually, only a revolution at this point is going to defeat Donald J. Trump.
It's not true.
Only people rising up and doing the work that needs to be done is going to remove him from office.
All right, there's a lot more I'm going to get to, but I wanted to show that and stop it there, because in the background, when Michael Moore is correctly saying that only a revolution can defeat Donald Trump, and really, I think that the other part of that is only revolution can really defeat Donald Trump and ensure that another Donald Trump doesn't come in again, because remember, Donald Trump is simply a symptom of the problem. He isn't the problem. So you need somebody to come in and really transform the system to benefit the average person, so that you're not going to have a bunch of angry white people again vote for someone like Donald Trump in the future. But when Michael Moore is saying that, after he delivers that line, you hear somebody in the background whisper, "That's not true." And that person is Claire McCaskill. Claire McCaskill, who is a conservative Democrat, lost her election in 2018 and then was hired by MSNBC to then tell other Democrats how to win. I mean, this is what is so wrong with cable news. They hire these losers to try and give advice on what Democrats can do. Claire McCaskill lost her election running conservatively. Shouldn't that tell everybody that, hey, maybe that isn't the way to go? I mean, shouldn't she know that after she lost her election running to the right? But no, the lesson is, let's hire Claire McCaskill to give the advice to Democrats on how to win using the same advice that she used to lose. It's completely absurd. But I don't want to focus too much on Claire McCaskill. Let's get to the next clip here, where there is some more good advice from Michael Moore.
In the swing states, you must have ballot proposals to bring out the base, raise the minimum wage, pass the Equal Rights Amendment for women, the ones we did in Michigan. There's so many free college. All those things are going to bring out the base if you have them as ballot proposals. And number three, we have to have a candidate who is beloved by the American people and who is outside the political inner circle, somebody who's not a politician, somebody who's going to win. I think, in my humble opinion, 4 of these candidates running could beat Trump: Bernie, Biden, Kamala Harris, and Elizabeth Warren. They could beat him. But Hillary beat him. It's not enough just to beat Trump. The only way to remove Trump is to crush Trump. And that's the question that has to be asked. Who can crush Trump? Who's the street fighter? We saw it in Bernie last night. Who's the street fighter that can crush Trump?
All right. Before I get to some of the more confusing advice here from Michael Moore, I think he makes mostly good points here. So he brings up something that I think needs to be brought up more often, and that's ballot initiatives. If you have ballot initiatives in every state for some of these more popular policy proposals, you will get people out to vote, even if they maybe don't like the candidate, but they'll be excited enough to come out and vote for the ballot initiative, and then also in that same, while they're in there, also vote for the Democrat. But he also mentions here, you need a street fighter, someone like Bernie Sanders. I mean, we saw that in that debate. Bernie Sanders is solid, and he's genuine. It's not these, these staged, totally pre-planned statements that he's going to come out, like the way Kamala Harris had against Joe Biden. That was completely pre-planned for her. But Bernie Sanders, he's a genuine, honest guy. Like, he didn't know that Tim Ryan was going to come in and make a comment while Bernie was talking about healthcare. And then Bernie comes back and saying, I wrote the damn bill. Like those are the kind of moments that you get out of Bernie because he is a real person. So you have a real fighter like that, a real genuine fighter like that, and that will stand out, especially on a debate stage against Donald Trump. I mean, Bernie is the antithesis of Donald Trump. Bernie is a true populist, a true man of the people. Trump is a fake populist. But then Michael Moore goes on to say, Biden, Kamala Harris, I think it's debatable. Look, I think Biden actually would be the worst choice. Biden is simply Hillary 2.0. I think Biden would suppress the Democratic base. So there are a lot of candidates on here. I mean, I think in most cases, the Democrat is going to win the popular vote. But it's can they also win the Electoral College? So even if I think Kamala Harris may be able to get the popular vote like Hillary Clinton did, it doesn't mean that she could actually win the Electoral College. I mean, think about the states that Trump won. You need those Rust Belt states. Bernie Sanders appeals to those people. He won many of those states in the Democratic primary in 2016. And he gets out the base to come out and vote. He doesn't suppress the vote like Biden does. So, look, a mixture of good and bad advice. They're mostly good advice, I think. But then Michael Moore goes on to this weird rant. And you're going to see exactly what I mean.
And frankly, I think there's a person that could do this. If the election were held today, there is one person that would crush Trump, and she hasn't announced yet. And her last name rhymes with Obama. In fact, it is Obama. Michelle Obama. Everybody watching this right now knows she is a beloved American, and she would go in there and she would beat him. She would beat him in the debates. He wouldn't be able to bully her. He wouldn't be able to nickname her. And she is beloved. Just go to C-SPAN and follow her book tour across the country. She's playing 15,000 seat arenas in the Midwest.
All right. This came out of left field. Like, I think Michael Moore has said something similar to this before. I mean, he back in 2016, after the Democrats lost, he said that Oprah Winfrey would be a good candidate for 2020. So he's had weird moments like this. But this is really odd. Now, look, I think Michelle Obama actually would do better than Biden and Kamala Harris. But I also don't think that she is somebody who is, in his own words, Michael Moore said, you need somebody outside the political inner circle, outside the beltway. That's not Michelle Obama. So he's not taking his own advice here. Now, if you want somebody who is truly outside the beltway, look at this. So I showed this map in a video yesterday. Bernie dominates in individual donors all across the country from coast to coast. He has by far the most individual donors, almost doubling the second place numbers, or the second place number, Elizabeth Warren. But if you zoom in to the beltway, zoom into Washington, D.C., it's not Bernie. It's Buttigieg, Harris, Warren, and a little bit of Biden. So this shows you, if you want somebody outside the beltway, it's Bernie Sanders. So outside the beltway, you see Bernie there in the blue, and across the entire country, you see Bernie all over the country. But inside the beltway, Pete Buttigieg, who right now in many polls is polling at 3%, 4%. So Michael Moore is exactly right when he says you need somebody outside the beltway. But Michelle Obama, not outside the beltway. Kamala Harris, not outside the beltway. Joe Biden, definitely not outside the beltway. It's just, he's got to take his own advice here. Now, I do want to show a last clip here. It's kind of short, but Michael Moore does end strong.
We are going to lose this if we run the same way that we ran last time. And God bless Hillary. She beat him by 3 million votes. The Democrat next year is going to beat him by 5 million popular votes and could still lose the Electoral College. We have to make sure that doesn't happen.
And that's exactly right. The Democrats cannot use the same strategy that they used in 2016. Hillary Clinton, your ultimate moderate, your center-right candidate. I mean, Hillary Clinton was the epitome of the political establishment. You cannot put up a candidate like that again. I think it's obvious that Joe Biden represents that. I think it's obvious that Kamala Harris represents that. Pete Buttigieg represents that. You need somebody outside of that. And Michelle Obama also does not represent that. So you need somebody outside of that, like Bernie Sanders. As we've seen, he is somebody that actually has real on-the-ground support from individuals all across the country. Now, I just want to show this tweet that I saw because this went out the day after Michael Moore's interview, and it gives me some hope that maybe there are people that are potentially having a little influence on him now because he was on their show. So here's the Chapo Trap House people with Michael Moore on the show in Traverse City. So, hey, if Michael Moore is willing to join Trap House, maybe he will hear their cries from the left side of the spectrum here. So, Michael Moore, I think, has the right intentions. I think he is, as we saw in 2016, he was one of the few people that was actually warning that Trump could win. So he has some real insight here, but he has to be able to follow his own rules. If you want somebody outside the beltway, it's not Michelle Obama, it's not Joe Biden, it's not Kamala Harris, it's Bernie Sanders.